Hello there and welcome to the SoberStu podcast. I'm Stuart and you are joining an addiction recovery podcast. Today I have great pleasure in welcoming Lauren White to the podcast. Lauren, how are you doing?
I'm good, guys. How are you? I'm honestly honoured to be your first interviewee for this podcast, and obviously this podcast, the title has very close to my heart. So I feel honoured to be able to come on here and basically share my story and my journey with you guys.
Well, do you know what, Lauren? I really appreciate you coming on as well. And I'm really pleased that you're our first guest as well. Do you know what? For me personally, I see you on Instagram. I've looked through your stories. I've looked through some of the talks that you've done. And inspirational is probably the word that springs to mind regularly. And even when I've spoke about you to other people that you're coming on, the word I use all the time is inspirational. And so thank you for
Oh,
coming on.
thank you. You're very welcome. That's yeah, you're gonna make me cry.
Hey, listen, I've got two big questions, right? And where they lead, I don't know. This is unscripted. I'm never going to do a podcast that's scripted. It's
We
unscripted,
don't like
natural.
scripted.
We'll see where we go with it. But I've got two big questions, and they are: where did it all go wrong, and where did it all go right?
I love those questions. Where it went wrong, I mean, it goes back to my childhood. It goes back to, being brought up, experiencing feelings and emotions, being, not okay with being okay, having incredibly low self-esteem, low self-worth, pretty much being surrounded by alcohol, also growing up with family members that were struggling with it. So I got introduced to it very, very young. And I almost, used it as a crutch from a very, very young age. So I started drinking very young, probably about 12, 13 years old. Um, and it took away everything for me. It took away my feelings, it took away my fear, it took away my almost ability to actually think. And that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to numb the pain. From loads of things in my life, my mum having cancer, or, little things like exams at school, or putting so much pressure on myself to be successful, a fear of failure, and every one of us relates to that. And my substance of choice, and I'll talk about, it's not just about the substance, that was the substance I pick up. My substance of choice was drink, drugs, foods, and relationships, pretty much. And from the ages of 11, 12 to the ages of 18, I was, up and running. I was, doing things I said never do before, self-sabotaging on a daily basis, drinking alcohol like it was no tomorrow, doing drugs I never said I'd do, had a very bad eating disorder as well. And I look back now and it was just literally like I wasn't living my life. I was just existing. And if you have my
Sorry,
problems,
Lauren.
you've heard.
When I say where did it all go wrong, it went wrong from the off. Then, like me, from young, it was never right, was it?
Yeah, 100%. There was something
Yeah.
inside that didn't feel right.
Hmm. Yeah. And it's that feeling of what I hear now is that restlessness, irritability, discontent, feeling you're in the wrong family, you don't
Hmm.
like yourself. Uh, and I've said this recently: what a sad way to live when you're young and you don't know any other way.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And like, it's just interesting because, my life now is so different, and I would never, ever, ever, you know, want to put myself in that pain anymore because I'm sober. But when I look back, like the only thing I knew was self sabotage,
Yeah.
but it all stemmed from self esteem and self worth
Do you,
and
yes, and
not feeling
do you
good
know
enough.
what?
And that was the
I've written that
primary.
down here, actually. I say it's unscripted because it is unscripted, but there's something that you talk about a lot is self-sabotaging. And it resonates with me massively because back in the day, I didn't know I was doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
And that self-sabotage,
mm,
I feel like it brings you to your rock bottom quicker.
100%. And yeah, like you said, it's very painful. And, like you said about, you know, you probably know it very well, like insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, and the in
Yeah.
denialness of it. You know, I was 18 when I got sober. I looked
Mhm.
around me and I saw people that were way worse than me. So why would I stop drinking? Why would I
Exactly.
go into rehab? You know, because there were so many things in my life that, you know, I could have done. I could have done heroin. I could have done
Yeah.
ketamine. I could have done this. I could have done that. But you know, my rock bottom of my change was when I was 18 and my younger brother got cancer. And the way that I was dealing with him getting cancer was just by drinking and doing drugs and
Right.
being bulimic. And I just remember just running away from the problem.
Yeah,
And
man.
it never made it better, it just made it worse. And that year, I was awful. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I hated myself so much. And I remember turning around to my mum and being like, I need help. And she was like, okay. And then she put me in rehab.
Did you? Can I ask you? I mean, like, did you think of taking your own life at that period? Did that was that ever a thought?
No, that was never a thought. I
Okay.
mean, I'd be silly to say that that was ever a thought. Like, I always wanted to live life,
Yeah.
but I didn't know a way out. So, you know, I had depression very badly and I had anxiety very badly. And it was very difficult to get through that.
Yeah.
But there was always something inside me that wanted to live,
That's beautiful. Yeah. You
you
could.
know?
Yeah.
And I was lucky
So you
enough
didn't.
because,
Yeah,
you
and you
know,
didn't know the angle. You
yeah,
didn't know the way, but you knew that you wanted a way. Yeah.
100%. And that's why when I got sober, that's why when I got sober so young, I knew I wanted to live life. And that's what I'm doing right now, you know?
And inspiring others, Lauren. Let's have it right. And this is the beauty I feel of addiction recovery. Everyone I talk to who's in recovery, who's working some kind of positive program, should we say, all want to help others.
Mm,
Everyone wants to help
mm,
someone. I find that mad. It's like
yeah.
beautiful.
It's because we have, I think we have a message. And I think
Yeah,
everyone that's been through something and is in recovery has a message. And I honestly think it's a miracle. It's a miracle. It's a miracle that, you know, I'm sober today. It's a miracle that I don't wake up and want to drink and do drugs. It's a miracle that I'm able to make choices today. And it's a miracle that I'm able to make decisions. And, you know, and I want to carry on that message to someone else and tell them that they can do the same because they can, you know?
yeah, man. And that is the beauty of recovery. Listen, I want to go back. You said you was 18, right? That's a young age to get clean and
Yeah, bloody
sober.
young.
And you went
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
went to
yeah.
rehab. So when you was in rehab, you must have been the youngest person there.
I was. Yeah, I was. No, actually, no, I wasn't. I wasn't.
No.
So there was a young boy that was in there for, well, I was in there originally. The first rehab I went to was 4 months, and it was like people from all addictions. I was in there with like a sex addict or
Right.
someone who had a food addiction. Oh, there was a couple of like a young boy that was in there for a food addiction. Like he
Yeah.
literally used to sit in his room. He used to sit in his room and not eat. He just wouldn't eat for days.
For
Um,
days.
and he had a gaming addiction as well. But when it came to like drugs and alcohol, yeah, I was the youngest. I think getting sober at 18 is not normal. It's not normal.
No, but do you know what? If you hadn't have got sober at 18, would you be here sitting in front of me now having this podcast?
No, I'd be dead. That's the truth. I'd be
Yeah, you
dead.
know, didn't you? That is the truth, man. That is the
No,
truth. That's
yeah.
the powerful, scary truth.
So the first time I went was 4 months. It was in Harley Street, so it was a very nice rehab. And then the second one I went to was I was 21 years old, and that was for depression and anxiety.
Okay.
Um, and I learned a lot about. So the first one I went to, I learned a lot about feelings and emotions, identifying, you know, my ego and my triggers. I
Yep.
obviously got introduced to the rooms very young, 12-step therapy, identification, checking in with myself.
Yep.
I did things like art therapy. I did
Okay.
things like drawing. It was mad. And then the second rehab was more about understanding, you know, trauma,
Right.
managing emotions, understanding. It was more like learning. And two things helped me from different times. Like the first one really helped me kind of get honest and vulnerable with my stuff, you know, and to
Okay.
literally get off my phone, stop talk about my feelings, you know, get real. And then the second one was like the actual tools to be able to manage, you know, anger, manage fear,
Yeah.
manage things in my life. So two different rehabs that I went to helped me for two different things, and it was amazing, you know. But obviously, not everyone can go to rehab because it's so expensive,
Of course.
and I don't say that everyone needs to, you know, because there is access to recovery by the 12 steps, and that was really what saved me. 12 steps saved my life.
The 12 steps, I think, for me and for anyone who works them, it's about changing the way you think and feel and the way you process stuff, isn't it?
100%, 100%.
And if you don't change the way you think and feel and the way you process stuff, you're pretty fucked. I think, it's not fuck about. That's the truth, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a thinking problem. That's what I feel.
Mm.
It's a thinking problem, not um, do the podcast. Love you. It's a thinking. It's sorry. It's a thinking. Like for me, my thinking is fucked. My thinking's screwed.
Yeah.
And what I do a lot of my clients is neuro linguistic programming, which is changing the way that we think. Because, for
Okay.
example, life still happens, shit still happens. I still have problems in my life, but it's about how I deal with that problems and how I see those problems. And I see things now as lessons. I see things as experience. I see things as, you know, I don't need to drink and to do drugs today because it's not going to help it. It's going to make it worse. So dealing with a problem head on rather than running away from the problem is key. You know.
Yep, I agree. And I feel the biggest thing, and in the midst of what you were saying there, when you're working a program and you're in recovery, and I use the terminology recovered, I feel like I am recovered. You get
Mm,
choices, don't you? You didn't have no choices back in the day. Now
mm,
we've got
mm,
choices. We can analyze, we can think, and we can make a structured decision. And that
mm,
was never there for me.
mm. 100%, 100%. And that's the thing. Like, if you were drinking and doing drugs, you are one step further to actually being the best version of yourself that you could be. And that's what I say a lot to people like that have issues with drugs and alcohol that are scared to say that they've got issues with drugs and alcohol. And I say to them, okay, so when you drink and do drugs, do you feel like your best version of yourself? And the first thing they say is no.
No.
You know, I try and take away the word addiction because it scares people. And I
Okay.
go into what actually makes you truly happy. And they're like, I want to feel content and not turn to self sabotaging behaviors
Yeah,
because
yeah.
everyone self sabotages. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day,
Do you find it? Do you find it that the clients that you work with find it difficult to use the word that they're an addict? Is that where you see it?
100%. Hundred
Right.
percent. I
Okay.
feel like a lot of them are scared to say that word, the word addiction.
Okay.
But I change
And
it and I reword it and I say to them, if you can't stop doing something,
mhm.
then you've got an addiction. An addiction can be anything. It can be from drugs and alcohol. It could be food. It could be relationships. It could be, you know, even being on your phone too much. It can be a
Yeah.
person. You know, addiction is just something that psychologically you cannot stop, and no willpower alone will make you stop. You know,
No,
so
no.
I always say to people, try and stop. If you can't stop, you've got addiction to it.
And do you know what? My sponsor said to me back in the day, he said, if you've got to try and control something, it's already out of control, mate. He said, so you need to put your hands
Mm,
up. And when I heard that, that was
mm,
19 years ago. He said that to me. I still remember that sentence as if it was said yesterday. Do you know what I mean? And I use that terminology a lot with other people. If you're controlling something, it's fucked. It's out of control.
exactly. I always say though, it's a problem when it becomes a problem. You know, like
Yeah.
I definitely have an addiction to the gym. I'm
Right.
fully open about it, but it's not a problem in my life. It hasn't affected my life. You know, I just know that I'm addicted to it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's when
yeah.
it
But it's not
becomes it.
causing you an issue at the minute.
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm still having fun. I'm still going out. I'm still working. I'm still this. I'm still that. It's when it, takes over my life, and I feel guilty when I can't stop and whatever. And I've learned to accept it because I think you're born an addict. Like,
Yeah, I
they
agree.
fully believe that it's a brain disease.
Yep.
Obviously, environment is important, but I see my tendencies of addiction. I see like what I can be like when I'm obsessed with something. I know how
Yeah,
my
yeah.
brain works. You know.
Well, I'm in agreement with you. I do believe you're born with it, and I do believe it's a brain disease. And I think that sometimes if you look at some addicts, shall we say, they don't become a full blown addict till they're in their late 30s and 40s, and maybe because circumstances and the life choices and upbringings didn't stop that from going
Mm,
full swing. But
mm,
I believe we're born with it. That feeling that I had as a child was there from my earliest memories. Do you know what I mean? So the only thing that quietened that down was drinking at 14 and using drugs at 15, 16, or whatever it might have been. And that brings me on to ADHD as well, because I'm finding everyone I'm talking to who's in recovery, and I feel like it's near enough everyone has been diagnosed with ADHD, right? And I got diagnosed last
yeah.
November. Now, bearing in mind, I'm 47, and it's
Oh wow.
answered so many
Mm,
questions about my life. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, what is the connection? Like, it can't be 100%. Can it be 100%? I don't know. What's your views?
there is a huge link with ADHD and addiction. 100%.
Mm,
How the brain works. I mean, I got diagnosed with ADHD when I was 12. I got
right.
put on medication from the age of 12.
Wow.
And ADHD is when your brain literally works 1,500 million miles out per hour, and you have obsessive
Yeah.
thoughts, and you,
Yeah.
you know, are very wired very differently. Um,
Yeah.
and it's when you have obsessive thoughts that you're like, okay, well, I need to keep doing this and keep doing it and keep doing it. I see. Look, I'm not a professional when it comes to ADHD. I'm not an ADHD specialist, but there's a huge link with ADHD and addiction, hundred
Yeah.
percent.
I agree. I agree. And do you know what? I've done a little bit of research, and then I see different figures. I see 60%, and in America, 75%. I'm going to keep researching. In a couple of weeks' time, I've got a therapist coming on to talk about the link between ADHD and addiction. She's done her own
Nice,
research, and yeah, and I,
nice.
and I want to I want to dive into it a bit more because, as I say, I was only diagnosed a year ago, so for me, it's pretty brand new, but I think it's higher than 75%, man. I think it's got to be higher from the people I talk to, like yourself and anyone else that I talk to on Instagram. Everybody says the same thing. They've got a diagnosis with ADHD, and I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that
Yeah,
a year ago. Yeah,
my other family member who is 15, no, 12, 13, 14 years sober. He's also had a problem with alcohol. He has also ADHD.
right.
So it's like
There we go then.
there's definitely a huge link in it. You know,
There is,
I would
there
actually
is.
like to maybe, I would actually like to maybe do more research about it as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree, and I'm gonna. Do you know what? I want to go back a minute actually, because you said to me that of all the work that you've done and the rehabs and stuff, the 12 steps was pivotal for you. Do you could you
Completely changed my
could you
life.
explain to me? Yeah, tell me how they changed your life. What was your process? How did you find them? Like, what did you find it easy? Was it a challenge? Because I know in the rooms, some people say, "Oh, it's like this and it's like that." Other people say, "Come on, embrace it." Do you know what I mean? And I embraced it. What was your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I was very lucky because I got introduced to the room very young. My mum is sober. She went into rehab when I was younger as well.
Oh
She's now
wow.
9 years sober. And my
Okay, wicked.
brother, well, yeah, my older brother's now 12 years sober. So I've got two family members in recovery.
I
So I
love
got
that.
introduced to it. Yeah, honestly, I love it. And I got introduced to AA very, very young. And it's just a complete transformational change in yourself. And the first things first is admitting you've got a problem, and a lot of people don't do that.
Yeah,
They're scared to admit that they've got a problem, and that's basically what you know you need to do. And having a higher power, praying every day to something that because as addicts we're selfish human beings. We think everything's all about us, And I think the world is on
Indeed.
our shoulders. And when you can actually go, nah, I'm not in control and I need to hand it over and just take it easy day by day, then
Yeah.
it actually helps you. And it really helped
Huh.
me. And, it helped me with journaling, the little things. It helped me with getting into fitness, finding more like things in my life that was better rather than drinking and doing drugs. What really helped me was also being around sober people, being
Yes.
around people on the same journey as me. Like I just came back from Hong Kong and I was in Hong Kong because I used to live there for 3 years, and there's a huge fellowship there of AA people, and
Right.
I went back and it was like I'd never, I felt so comfortable, and those are my people. They get
Yeah,
me.
it's a
They understand
family,
the
isn't
way
it?
my brain works. Like I don't even know you, Stu. We met today, and I feel like I've known you
Yeah.
my whole life. It's
You know,
crazy.
don't you? It's
Yeah,
mad, isn't it? It
it's
is
mad.
mad. It
I can
is.
say something to you about my brain, and you'll be like, "Oh, I get it." You know?
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Do you know what? I love that. And that, do you know, you think you've hit the nail on the head. The family within the fellowships is, as much as, you know, as much as it's important to crack on and work that program, but the family that comes within the fellowships right at the beginning when you first go in there, they're the ones that make you feel, that feeling that you've never had, isn't it? That warm and
Mm,
safe feeling.
mm, exactly. And that's literally how it felt for me. And I've literally been to meetings all over the world. I walked
Right.
into a meeting in Miami. I've gone to a meeting at a bomb shelter in Tel Aviv. I've done a meeting in Krakow in Poland.
Wow, man.
I've been all over the world. There's meetings in Bali, and everyone has one common thing,
Yeah.
and it's just they want to get sober and they want to help people.
Yeah.
And it's just an incredible journey. And then obviously, like, you know, step 4, doing like a written inventory about my stuff, like
Hmm.
trying to forgive myself for the past. It took me, years of shame and guilt because I just wanted to hide about, the person that I was. And doing, recovery made me become more acceptance about my past
Yeah.
and move myself onto the future. So I started to become a happier person in myself because I knew that I couldn't control what I did and take away
Yeah.
what I did, but it was about what tomorrow holds for me. And that's
Yeah.
about being the best version of myself that I can be, you know?
Yeah. 100%. And that touched me then when you was talking about the step forward because, forgiving yourself, that's that's big. That's big. If you don't forgive yourself, you ain't got much chance, have you?
100%. No, it's all the self doubt, it's all the, the hating yourself, low self esteem, and that's how I felt. Like
Yeah.
I was hiding. Shame and guilt was huge for me because I was so shameful, so I'd hide, and drinking drugs just released that.
On your step 4, yeah, I don't know about yours, and I know some people are very resentful people. Now, I didn't have a whole list of resentments towards others. Most of the resentments on my step 4 were towards me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And there is that
yeah.
shame and guilt that you talk about. What was your step
Mm,
4 like? I ain't asking you to share it all. Obviously, it's personal, but what was it like? How did it make up? Was you very resentful to others, or not really?
no, I was exactly the same as you. I was inward.
Right.
I was very self sabotaging towards myself
Yeah.
rather than other people. I wasn't an angry person. I was angry towards myself.
Uh
A
huh.
lot of my drinking was hidden. A lot of my drug use was like, hidden. A lot of my bulimia and my eating disorders was all self-inflicted. And the only thing that I really affected was my family's peace of mind, and that was a huge one, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't
Definitely.
realize because I was so selfish. Like I was like, "You're what are you talking about? I'm affecting my family. I'm the one that's affecting myself," and realized actually I was affecting them from my using.
Yeah, because the illness of addiction is a family illness, isn't it? And it affects everybody and anyone around the actual addict. And I don't think we don't know that, do we? When we're using, we haven't got that clue because the world centers around us because we're
Yeah,
selfish in addiction.
yeah, yeah, hundred
And do you know
percent.
what?
We are.
Going back to what you said a little while ago about the clients that you work with, and for them to own the fact that they're an addict is very tough. Maybe that's one of the reasons why it's tough, because they've got to put their hands up and go, do you know what? I'm being a selfish fucker here, and I need to change who I am. And maybe that's one of the hard elements of asking for help or admitting what you are.
I think, I mean, I know this is a bit of a weird thing to say, but I think a lot of addicts think that they almost, because of what they've been through and the pain that they've been through or whatever, it's almost like they deserve to use. Like they're the ones that are suffering. It's a victim mentality thing, and that's what I
Yes,
realised when I was
yes,
using. And actually,
yeah,
I needed
definitely.
to actually be responsible for my actions because my actions were affecting other people.
Hmm.
I hear a lot of addicts being like, you know, woe me, and it is. It's unfortunately, it's like why would they say in recovery like why wouldn't I do the things that I was doing? Like, you know, I had X, Y, Z. I had a divorce. I had breakup. I had this and that. So why wouldn't I pick up drugs and alcohol to change what I feel? You know.
I get you. Yep. And like you say, all those elements are self-sabotaging, aren't they? They're self-sabotaging elements, and living with no boundaries. That's massive when you're in active addiction. All these things can come in. The self-sabotaging stops when you work in a program. You start implementing boundaries in your life. You start forward thinking about what the consequence might be, because back in the day, you don't think about consequences, do you? Ever?
No, no. You don't have time to think about consequences. You know,
No.
you're riddled with
No.
anxiety,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. That's what I like about being sober is having the space. That's what I like about being sober is having the space to actually think and make
Yeah.
decisions. Because I couldn't do that for so long. I was so
No, and do you know
flawed and
what?
so you know.
I feel like I see something that you mentioned online recently, and it was imposter syndrome. Yeah. Um,
Mm,
and I feel
yeah,
that, yeah. And I feel, like that imposter syndrome. Yeah. Can I ask you, when you was a young child, did you feel that then?
100%. I've felt it my whole life.
Right.
I
Okay. Yeah.
always
Cool.
felt, I always felt that I didn't inadequate to anything in my life, and
Okay.
I don't know
And
whether it's because I went to a private school. I don't know whether it's because I had dyslexia growing up or ADHD. I don't know if it's because I had a lot of trauma in my childhood. I had a lot of negativity in my childhood. I don't know if it was because I got told that I wasn't going to be successful. All these things led me to feeling like I wasn't good enough, you know.
yeah.
So it came into my adulthood. Like I started to do things and think that, I wasn't going to be successful. I think a
Hmm.
lot of people struggle with this,
Yeah. Do you struggle with it now still
and very
sometimes?
successful people struggle with this.
Yeah. What about in recovery? Does it pop up?
Yeah, yeah. No, not in recovery.
Okay.
Is it for you?
Well, I'm sitting here thinking, I've never analysed it before. Do you know what? I don't think it does, but someone said something the other day, and it's just playing in my mind now that he said, "Oh, I always feel like I'm going to get found out," and I'm like, "Yeah, I feel like I have that feeling. I've had that feeling all my life. So, is that the same thing? I don't know. That pops into my brain sometimes. I don't know. Found out about what? I don't know.
Probably is,
But
to
do
be
you know what
fair.
I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, probably is. But it's very normal. A lot of people do struggle with this. I
yeah.
I do sometimes doubt myself with my relationships and my work. So it's a lot of stuff that I know I need to work on.
So going back to the program, I've got to ask you this one because most of your resentments are about yourself. What about your step eight list? When you wrote your step eight list of making amends, were most of them making amends to yourself, or was it yourself and family, or was it a longer list than that?
So it was myself and my family. I made my amends to my ex-boyfriend, some friends that I'd affected, but mainly, yeah, my family the most.
Okay. And in recovery, Have you ever had periods in recovery where your program has slipped off the cliff and you've gone back into old way of thinking? Because I have. I'll be honest about that. I definitely
100%.
have. But yeah,
100%.
okay.
Yeah.
And how long has that process last for? Is it been short lived or has it been a long thing? Because we're not perfect, and no one's here telling anyone that we are perfect. You're just trying one day at a time, isn't it?
I definitely have like post lockdown, I was struggling
Right.
um, with like my emotions, my feelings. A lot of I had a new job and a lot of imposter syndrome. I beat myself up a lot. A lot of that stuff. Yeah, definitely. Um, I was just like reaching out as much as I can, seeing a therapist, going to more meetings. I don't
Okay.
think life is perfect in recovery. I want people to know that. I don't.
No.
I'm not just fixed with my feelings and my emotions. I have good days and I have bad. Now I don't really have that many bad days, if I'm honest. You can't really
You're
have any bad days when you live in Bali.
no, do you know what? No, I don't think you can. I'm thinking, as you're talking, I'm always thinking that's ADHD clearly, but
Yeah,
like you mentioned anxiety a little while ago in recovery. Uh, I know for me, if I'm working my program or working a program or level of program and seeing a counsellor or doing whatever I'm doing, breath work, which I've learned in the last 12 months, anxiety vanishes. That's to me, that's one of the most priceless gifts of sobriety. What's your anxiety like?
I do suffer with anxiety, but I'm very good at managing my anxiety. Like I'm
Okay.
very good at trusting the process, taking a step back and going, it is what it is. Very good at kind of just going with the flow of life, and just changing my thoughts and feelings as much as I can. Meditation is a good one,
Yeah, it
but
is.
also is for me, it's like checking in with feelings and emotions, and you know, for me, it's all about the way that I think. So telling myself that I can't control the future, telling myself to slow down, telling myself to check in, telling myself that I'm good enough, and like all of that stuff. Like for me, I'm very big on positive self talk.
And are you then analysing where that anxiety is coming from?
Yeah, it's good to check in where it's come from.
Yeah.
100%, 100%.
Don't always know though, do we? Sometimes,
My
but the longer
biggest,
you're doing
yeah, I
this, the
mean, my
better it is.
biggest, yeah, like my biggest fear is, and I've always struggled with it, is whether or not I'm going to be successful or whether or not I'm going to find a partner. Those are my two biggest fears.
Okay. All right. Well, let's dive into one of them then. Now you've mentioned them. So, what do you class as successful?
Oh my God,
You've got to be
I
careful
don't
what you
even
say
know.
here.
I know it's a bit of a deep question. I don't know. I don't know. I can't really, I'm not really, I don't think I'm in the right frame of mind to, yeah. What do you class as successful?
um, I like the way you flip that back. Okay. Do you know what? I feel like successful thought processes have changed over the years for me. Right here, right now, it's more to do with my emotional, mental health more than anything because I've suffered in recovery. I've not picked up or used in recovery, but I've acted out and I've been really mentally unwell in recovery as well. And I'm 19 years clean and sober this Friday coming up, and the last 3 years have
Wow,
been the best.
congrats.
Do you know what I mean? But it's only been the last 3 years that I've flown like on another level in recovery. So, what do I class as successful? It's about having peace of mind, um, and just inner peace, man. And I genuinely mean that. Do I look at that as being successful in life? Yeah, I do. And being able to be a dad, being able to be a partner, being able to be a friend or whatever it is, that to me is
Yeah,
success.
love that. Love that. Yeah. I'm the same. Like I had a really bad experience this year with work and in London, and I was burnt out. I was depressed, and I changed it. I left my job. Moved halfway around the world. I'm now helping people with addiction and mental health, and helping people with self sabotage. And I love my life now. I absolutely love my life, and I got up and I changed it. And every day I wake up and I'm content. And for me, it's not
Blessed.
even about money now. Being in Bali has like made me a completely different person, and I experience life in a very different way here. Like if I can wake up and I have food on my plate and I have a show, like somewhere to live, and I can go from A to B, I'm happy. I'm content. Like, why do I need anything else?
You don't, man. You don't. You don't. And that's what recovery can give you. Is that it's that contented peace of mind feeling. So when you flipped from one side of the world to the other a few months back, was that an ADHD spur of the moment decision, or did you plan it?
So I came here in April and I fell in love with it, and I said to myself, if this isn't the right, I was moving jobs. Said to myself, if this is not the right job, I'm moving here. So I actually was thinking about it for like 5, 6 months.
Okay.
I had a very good feeling about this place, but I am very ADHD, so I do make very impulsive. Yeah, I do make impulsive decisions. But this decision I made is not the wrong. It's not the wrong decision. I go with my gut,
Okay.
Stu. Like, I do go with my gut. Most decisions that I've made in my life, haven't been wrong decisions, which is amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I get that. I get that. And even if they are classed as wrong in some people's eyes, they're just learning. They're learning curves, and they. It's another part to grow.
And that's the thinking. That's the change in the thinking. There's no
Yeah, man.
right or wrong answer. It's the
No,
answer
no.
that you choose, and from every decision you make, it's a decision, and you learn something from it. And that's how I think today.
So, did you move to Bali from the UK? Did you go by yourself?
Completely by myself. Yeah.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Now that's respectful, man. That is respectful. That's a big, big, big decision, isn't it?
But I did that when I was 21 in Hong Kong, so I
Okay.
guess I was used to it.
It didn't get no fear around it.
I've always been so, like, I don't know. I've never been scared. I've always been so, like, self-sufficient, and I guess I don't know, maybe because of what I've been through in my life, but I've never been scared to speak to anyone, go up to people, make friends. Never. Don't know why. Sometimes you just need to do it. You need to
Yeah,
push
you
yourself out
know.
your comfort zone. Just do it. You know.
So I've got a question for you, which I see on your Instagram a few weeks back, and I didn't actually notice it initially when I first linked with you. But you're the ambassador on the Amy Winehouse Foundation. Is that right? Did I read that
Yes,
right?
I am.
So how
Yes.
did that happen? Where did that come from?
So when I went into rehab at 18, I got introduced to the foundation. I have a lot of mutual friends with the Winehouses because I'm Jewish and she's Jewish, and I kind of grew up in similar circles with them, and
Okay.
they were looking for people to work for them. And I was a young addict, obviously, so I
Yeah.
started going into schools and working with them. And I'm very close to Jane Winehouse.
Okay.
And then last year they asked me to be their ambassador, which is amazing.
Wow. That is mad. how,
Yeah,
how, how
yeah,
beautiful is that?
yeah. It's nice.
It is nice. That's like that puts a big smile on my face. I love that. These are, do you know what? These little nuggets of things that happen in recovery, and yeah, I find it beautiful. Do you get involved much? Do you have to do much? What's the setup like?
So I was doing a lot of talks to them. But obviously now I'm in Bali, I'm not doing as much with them. But they'll get me involved in campaigns, or they'll, ask me to promote them. Like, it's just pretty much just to promote the foundation and, promote sobriety, really.
Yeah,
That's what an ambassador is. They are promoting the company
the
and the
promoting. Yeah.
charity.
So
Yeah.
what does the charity? What does the foundation do? Is it specifically for young people?
Yeah, so they've got the resilience program where they have young addicts going into schools and doing talks all over.
So we're trying to get this message to young people before
Yeah,
they start picking
before
up
they
or
pick up.
whatever they're
Yeah,
doing. Yeah, yeah, that's
yeah,
powerful.
exactly that. It's very
That is
powerful. It's
powerful.
amazing.
It is. Although I'm gonna look back now when I was 14. If someone had come into my school and told me about it, I think I still would have used. What about you?
No, but it plants a seed. It plants a seed. 100%.
Definitely, definitely. And I remember I was arrested for drink driving on my second or third or fourth time. I can't remember. And I had to go to an alcohol and drug day program and do a drinker log and write down what I drunk. And anyway, I couldn't. Listen, I said to the fellow, when I go out on a Monday, I don't come back to the Friday, mate. I don't know how I'm going to fill this form out, but I did it for him on a weekly basis. And he said to me, I feel like you might have an issue with alcohol. Now, bearing in mind, I'd only wrote down I've had a couple of drinks in my eyes. But that guy's face has never left me, and the words that he said have never left me because the seed was planted. I chose not to do nothing about it at the time, but the seed was planted.
Exactly. And then you like 10 years later go, oh yeah, there's something that guy said. You know,
That's it.
that's what I do. Like, in recovery they talk about attraction rather than promotion. I don't go around telling people to get sober, but they look at me and they're like, she's living proof I can do that as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Okay, so we didn't answer the question about what success looks like, but I want to know what your immediate future looks like. What's your plans moving forward from today onwards?
So my plans at the moment is I'm full on force going on with my counselling and helping people with self-sabotaging behaviours. So in January, I'm launching an online platform that's going to help people with fitness, nutrition, and self-esteem, self-worth. So that's going to be my own little app. And
Right.
then I'm working for two new apps. One is a mindset coach to create content around addiction and mental health. The other one is to get clients. And for me, it's about getting clients and changing people's lives pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. So you've
And
got a
staying in
lot going
Bali
on
because
there.
I just love it here.
And standing by.
I have a lot going on.
A lot going on, and it's all. Listen, the positivity around the changing the way people think in recovery or non-recovery, whatever it is, and creating a business out of that. That's like that makes you want to get up every day and crack on, doesn't it?
Every day, every day. Like,
Yeah,
I feel so happy when I'm helping people, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Like one of my clients on Sunday night, I spoke to him and he did his gratitude list. And on his gratitude list was had an amazing coaching session with Lauren. And I was
No
like,
way. Yeah.
that just made me happy, you
Do you
know?
know what? Yeah, I love that, and I've only been on this journey, this podcast journey, and Instagram for 6 7 weeks. It wasn't a thought that come to
Wow,
me. Yeah, it's mad. So I've set
that's
up a charity
amazing.
last year for addiction charity, working with people locally in the UK in the town called Gravesend, and someone said to me, "Go on Facebook and do some videos. You've got passion. It generates some publicity." And then from that, it went on to, oh, I'll open up an Instagram page. And then from that, someone said podcast. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting here with you now. Like, it was never part of my journey. Um, but it makes me want to get up and crack on with it every day, exactly like you.
It's amazing. And we're both on the same journey to help people. So, like, why wouldn't
Yeah,
I want to come on this podcast? Do you know what I mean? Like, we both got a story to tell. We both, are living proof. Like, you're 19 years, I'm nearly 11 years. Like, and we both come
mad,
from
isn't it?
different backgrounds with different ages.
Yeah,
But we're all here for the same reason.
yeah. And as much as we've got different backgrounds, different lengths of sobriety, come from different areas, we had the same thinking back in the day and still got it now
We have
to
the
an
same
extent, I
head.
would have
We
thought.
have the same
Yeah,
head. Yeah,
yeah, mad.
100%.
Well, listen, I'm going to ask you one
And
last question. And the question is, if you've got a message to give anybody who's watching this podcast, I hope we get some viewers. What would it be?
um, I mean, I always leave people with this, like, just remember you don't need to put pressure on yourself to be a certain way and to act a certain way to do certain things. Life is too short to worry about things. Life is too short to put, you know, the world on your shoulders. Like, if I knew growing up that it was all about my thinking and it was all about the way that I saw life, then I wouldn't have put so much pressure on myself to be a
Yes.
perfectionist, to try and succeed, to compare myself to others.
Yeah.
Um, and just remember that, like, just keep it in the day, keep it in the day. Don't worry about the future. And what
Yeah,
will
man.
be. That's my thing.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. And do you know what? That's simplicity and sometimes hard to do, but it's perfect because
Yeah,
if you follow those rules,
yeah.
you got a different life, haven't you?
But this is the thing, and sorry to end on this, but like, it is hard to do, but you have to be willing. You have to be willing to change.
Yeah.
And I hear a lot of people saying, I can't do it, I can't change. Okay, well, then that's your problem. Like, you have to want to do anything in your right mind to change. And it may not be now, but it has to be one day. And when you're ready, that's when you're ready. Because
Yeah.
anyone can change if they want to, really.
You've just got to want to. And
Yeah,
Sometimes you've just got to, you've got to be beat enough, haven't you?
100%. Everyone has a
Yeah,
different rock bottom. So
definitely, definitely. Lauren, I want to say a massive thank you for coming on today, and genuinely really enjoyed
honestly,
our
it's been
chat.
a
It's been
pleasure.
beautiful.